Have you ever felt like you don't quite know who you are anymore? Or like your identity shifts depending who you're around or what's going on around you? This episode is for you. Today, I'll be talking about what it truly means to build a solid sense of self, a build off from the last episode of a true sense of self, rooted in your true values, not what others think or want out of you, and also what God intended you to truly become because He has designed you to become individually you, not anyone else. So stay tuned. I cannot wait for you to hear today's episode. Hey Mama, welcome to Building Yourself with Grace, the podcast for Christian moms growing in faith, mindset, and motherhood, one grace-filled step at a time. I'm your host, Jenna Azera, a faith-filled mom just like you, walking through the beautiful, holy, and messy in-betweens of motherhood. I know what it feels like to feel overwhelmed, weighed down by mom guilt, and stretched thin trying to do it all. As I go through life, I've learned this. With God's grace, we don't have to chase perfection. We can renew our minds, find strength in Christ, and grow into the women He is calling us to be. Here you'll find honest conversations, encouragement, and practical tools to help you build your life from the inside out. So grab your favorite drink, take a deep breath, and let's start building yourself with grace. Before we keep going, I want to speak to the moms who are feeling like it's a heavy season right now. The ones that keep replaying the day in their head. The ones that carrying the guilt of the shoulda, coulda, wouldas that never seem to turn off or end. I'm exploring a free online workshop to help moms just like you understand their thought processes and cycles, learn how to release the shame and fear tied to those thoughts. And if that resonates with you, there's a short survey in the show notes below where you can share your interests and select a day and a time that works best for you. I truly want to help you there as a mom who is working so hard, become the best moms and the best person possible for your family. And I know that I can help you through this workshop and want to bless you. And so let's get back to today's episode. Hello, and welcome to Building Yourself with Grace. I'm your host, Jenna Azera, and today is a very special episode. It's a build-off on episode 9 and also episode 21, where we talk about identity and how to build our identity and how to become our true sense of self and not identify our roles as our identity. Episode 9 is about identity versus role and why that as a mom is so important, because the idea that we get lost in motherhood is really covered in episode 9. And if that really connects with you, check out episode 9. That's a great prequel to this. And then episode 21 is a build-off prequel to this episode today. In order to understand this episode about a solid sense of self, you have to first understand and build your true sense of self. I would recommend you going back to episode 21 and even listening to episode 9, because that will help build your identity step by step, that when you get to this episode of episode 22, you will understand and be able to build your solid sense of self, building your life on true values that you live by and value. I cannot wait to bless you and to strengthen you and help you find who you truly are and help you live a happy and genuine life, a life of joy and a life of less pretending and perfectionism as well. So let's dive in today. Let's get right into it. So in order to understand a solid sense of self, we need to understand what it is. So Google defines it as a well-defined, authentic understanding of who you are. It's independent of external validation, guided by your values instead of your emotions. It's consistent across environments, and it's rooted in self-trust. So a solid sense of self is authentic you, who you truly are. You are independent of relying on people to validate you. You are not going to become a reflected sense of self, meaning you're not going to become a sense of who you are, reflecting what people want out of you. You are genuinely becoming who you authentically are and what you value. And that's what a solid sense of self is. It becomes your internal compass instead of asking, what will they think of me, or what should I do, or am I enough? You can start asking instead with the idea of a solid sense of self. Does this align with who I am? Does this reflect what I value? Is this congruent, or is this aligning to with the woman I am becoming? Those are questions that helps you start asking. And to tell you the truth, this is something I'm constantly working on and growing into becoming. I am not perfect at this, but I have found that I am becoming more of my solid sense of self because I'm willing to do things and make decisions based on what I value, not what others value and others think they want out of me, but because I want it. And this is where it's so important. And it can be really hard because a lot of our lives as moms, we want to rather impress our in-laws, impress our friends, impress our spouse. Not so much impress, but maybe align with what they approve with, or even a culture, whether that's a religious culture, your neighborhood culture, whatever culture you grew up in, family culture. We all want to tend to fit in and be a part of it. And so we are constantly trying to ask what they think about us. What should I do because they want me to do it? Or am I enough to them? But that's where perfectionism comes in, and also where you are not leading yourself. And that's why in episode 21, where I talk about the 8 C's, which is calmness, clarity, curiosity, compassion, confidence, courage, creativity, and connectedness. When you lead with your true sense of self, it helps you find your solid sense of self, which is why episode 21 is really important to go back to for this reason, because we're in a culture where we are expected as women sometimes to go by certain values or by certain ideas or perfectionism or what we should or should not do, or maybe what our in-laws would expect of us, or our mothers or parents expect out of us. And that can be very challenging and very hard for a lot of us. And so, again, I really highly recommend starting with the 8 C's, which is talked about more in episode 21, where it helps you start to lead yourself. I'm going to respond with calmness. I'm going to be curious about how that person feels or how I'm feeling right now or why I'm feeling this way. I'm going to receive some clarity about why I need to do something or why that person's doing something. I'm going to have the confidence to move forward and make mistakes and grow from those mistakes, and have the courage to do something very difficult. That can be like making boundaries, for example. And creativity, being creative in solving problems or getting into an outlet that helps bring out your creativity, and then being connected with yourself and with other people. So I love the 8 C's. You can tell in episode 21 that I'm very passionate about it because I have grown so much from connecting with my 8 C's, and it's amazing how much it's changed my life, and I can't wait for it to change yours. So let's get right into how you can become your solid sense of self and why as moms we need to connect with our solid sense of self. As I talked about in episode 9, a lot of us as moms live in roles instead of our true identity. Motherhood is just a hat we wear. It's a role. Being a wife is a hat we wear or a role we do. But it's not who you are. It's not who Jenna Azera is. It's not who Julie is. It's not who Hannah is. It's not who Carly is. You are you. You are your solid sense of self, your true sense of self. And that's what leads your motherhood. That's what leads your wifehood. That's what leads you as maybe a church leader or a service person or a businesswoman or a homemaker. Whatever your role or hat you play, your true sense of self and your solid sense of self lead that. But in order to have that lead that, you have to learn to lead yourself. It helps you not overfunction or overgive. It helps you not lose clarity in people pleasing. And it helps you also not base your worth on productivity or even approval of others, which can be really difficult. And something I'm constantly work on is that I don't need to constantly impress or get approval from someone else. But I choose to do it because I value it and that's what I feel good about. And also that's what I know is right. And so when emotions or parts lead, and that can be like fear, fixer, planner, shamer, or avoider, or many more that I'm not listing, we lose that internal anchor of our true sense of self, our solid sense of self. And without our values, we, in a sense, like drift on a boat. Like a boat, if we don't have an anchor to the ground, our boat is drifting in the sea and getting lost. But with values, we are rooted, we are anchored. We are not going to be tossed around by the storm. It kind of makes me think of that scripture that we're not going to be tossed around with every wind of doctrine. It's the exact same concept here, that you're not going to be constantly tossed to and fro because you have your value system. So now you're understanding that solid sense of self is built on values. Let's talk a little more about how values build your solid sense of self. This is where the main teaching point is. Our solid sense of self is not built by confidence alone, or positive thinking alone, or self-care alone. It is built by living aligned with your values repeatedly over time. Values help create your ability to stay stable, to have integrity, to emotionally regulate yourself, to even trust yourself, and to create boundaries. When you live outside your values, this is where a lot of internal conflict happens. Have you ever made a choice that you just felt like you didn't agree with, but you went ahead with it because everyone was having that pressure, and then you just had that inner conflict with yourself or not happy with yourself? That's because you lived outside of your values and your boundaries. When you live within your values, you have true internal peace. And I think Jesus Christ is a perfect example of this. He never lived outside of his values. He always lived within his values, the values of his Father in heaven. So if that can help you kind of turn to an example, Jesus Christ is the perfect example of both the true C's and a solid sense of self and his values. So here are some key components of building a solid sense of self. Number one, like we talked about, core values and beliefs. Knowing what you stand for, knowing what is non-negotiable for you, values like honesty, compassion, growth, calmness, faith, courage, integrity, responsibility, presence, kindness, and many more. This is what shows up. You can answer, how do I want to show up with these values? These are values that you will live by and that are non-negotiable. That'll be out of line for you to not follow these values. Again, when you live within your values, you have internal peace. With an outside of your values, have internal conflict, and that's the exact same thing. How do I want to show up with my values? Number two, self-awareness. When you have self-awareness, you understand what your strengths are, even what your weaknesses are, what you're emotionally triggered by, and maybe even emotional or behavioral patterns that you have. This is where, again, where I talked about the ACs really help you. Self-awareness says, I see what's happening inside of me. That's what self-awareness does for you, is it helps you with the 8Cs understand what's going on. That's why you have to be curious with yourself. Oh, what's going on? Why am I reacting or responding this way? Or why is these certain emotions coming up? You're getting curious, and then you're seeking clarity, and then you're building yourself with compassion, because our feelings and our emotions are very valid. They come from a certain place to protect you or to help you understand what's going on. And once you have that compassion, then you can move forward with confidence and courage to move forward on being aligned with your true sense of self and your values and your solid sense of self as well. Number three, independence. When you align yourself with your solid sense of self and your values, you're starting to feel like a consistent and the same person no matter where you go. You're not changing your behaviors or who you are depending who you're around or the surroundings, like church, home, your business, with friends, on social media. You want to make sure that you are the same person. You're consistent everywhere you go. That is what a solid sense of self is and a true sense of self is. I'm sure you've been around people where it's hard to enjoy to be around them because they change around depending on their circumstances. It may be a different person at church versus at work versus at home versus in public versus with family, with friends, or even on social media. But you love and trust those people that you know are the same person no matter what outlet or what location or where you meet them or anywhere. You know that they're consistent, and those are people that are aligned with our solid sense of self and true sense of self. They are not performing to get a reaction out of people. They are doing it because they're genuinely them. Key components of solid sense of self, I'll go over those one more time, is 1, core values and beliefs. Number 2, self-awareness. Number 3, independence. And number 4, consistency. Now that we understand these 4 steps of helping build your solid sense of self, let's see how building values strengthens your solid sense of self. This is where your identity, like where you find your identity, is a lot. Like an exercise that I do a lot with my moms is helping them recognize the 5 top values and have them practice that every day. So that's why, again, I start with episode 21, the concepts from True Sense of Self, because once you align yourself with the 8 C's, it's a lot easier to clearly see what you value, because before then it's kind of like I got ideas, but I'm maybe not sure, or even if you have aligned yourself with certain values, maybe you didn't have clarity on them, or you weren't very calm about it, or you weren't curious within yourself. You didn't have compassion with yourself when you made mistakes, or compassion with other people too. And that's one thing I love about a solid sense of self, is that when you become a solid sense of self and a true sense of self, you have a lot more compassion, clarity, curiosity with not only yourself, with other people. Because you understand that maybe there's parts that's leading them. Maybe there's a trauma that we don't understand. There's a story behind that we don't understand. And that's why we want to get curious with them, understand their narrative, how they see the world. And when you do that, it's a lot easier to love them. It's a lot easier to conversate with them. It's a lot easier to be yourself with them as well. So again, why having values is so important. I help my moms identify the top values that they are and practice them daily. And when you identify your values, their top 5, you start beginning to make decisions faster, actually. You reduce people pleasing. You tolerate discomfort much better than you would without it. You build emotional resiliency as well. And you also learn to trust yourself more. That one's a hard one for me. I love to base a lot of my decisions on what other people think. So this has been a challenge for me, and it's still quite a challenge sometimes. But I love to challenge myself. I know I use that word a lot, but I love the word challenge. I love to make it a challenge to make my own decisions based on my values, instead of having to depend on what my husband thinks or what my mom thinks or what other people think. And when I'm saying this, also do this with respect. Don't go at it like that I'm making this decision, I don't care what you think. It's more of that I see your point of view. My values don't quite align with that. So let's get curious. I don't choose to do that, but what are your thoughts? So like it's more of being a respectful conversation, not becoming like this, I don't care what you think, so I'm making this decision. But it's more of the confidence of not having to compare yourself with other people, or not having to depend on other people to make a decision, or to even have a value of I'm choosing not to do that, or I'm choosing to do that. That's what it looks more like. It's just at least coming with respect as well, and connectedness and calmness and clarity, but still being your true sense of self. Every time you act in alignment with your values, you become closer and stronger into your true identity. When you become more aligned with your values, you're more able to trust yourself. When you're able to trust yourself, you have more stability. And when you have more stability, you have a more solid sense of self. Maybe to help you, I wanted to give you a fun story that can kind of give you an example of this. When I was 17 years old, I went through a couple ACT tests where I failed constantly. And that's very hard because in high school, I was pretty much a straight A student. I was even valedictorian of my high school graduating class. But I could never pass an ACT test. Tests were never easy for me, especially the ACT, which is a very think inside the box when we are growing up in school, so thinking outside the box. So I was already not liking being defined by my tests, that they're not even looking at me as a person. They're looking at the numbers. And a lot of colleges, even though I had amazing high school GPA, would not accept me because I had a very low ACT score. And this was very hard on my identity and who I truly was. So I was going to a restaurant to get a new job. I was working for McDonald's for the last couple of years before then, and I was like, I am done with McDonald's. I want to move forward into a better job. And so I bring my resume, I dress up nice, I go in, and I remember this manager. I look back, it still boggles my mind that this even happened and that an adult thought this was okay. But he gave me this test. He didn't even look at my resume. He didn't ask me a single question. This is as a 17-year-old. And he gave me this test, which is like a psychological test. And apparently it was like if I like have a mental illness or not kind of test. It's insane. I don't even know why I was given this test, but he didn't ask me a single question. He just told me I need to take this test. And for someone who already struggles with tests, this is the last thing I need. And ironically, so I take this test. He goes back and grades it. I'm like, what the freak? And he comes back and he literally says, you failed the test. I can't hire you. And normally I would have been like, okay, and walked out and sulked and been sad that he didn't, hire me. But at that point, I was just tired of being looked at and judged by a score on a paper. And I still visually remember this. I remember sitting up straight up, having my hands on my knees, and asked him, "What? You didn't ask me a single question." And he looks at me like so confused, and I went down on him on why I was totally qualified. I'm in the National Honor Society. I have 4.0 GPA. I'm the oldest of 3 brothers. I've worked with McDonald's. I've handled money and very challenging customers and good customers. Like, I drilled him with all this amazing information about me. And I look back and I feel like actually I was very aligned with my ACs because I still did it with calmness, which I'm really shocked about. I definitely brought a lot of clarity of what I can do and confidence and a lot of courage there. And I remember after I finished my long list of amazing things about me, I said, don't tell me that I'm not qualified to do this job. And I remember he was so stunned, this probably 40-year-old man, not even sure how to respond. And all he could muster was that, come back tomorrow and we'll talk. And I just remember walking out of that restaurant just beaming, like, man, I stood up for myself. And I remember coming home, my mom was quite shocked. And then I went back the next day, another manager laughed. He's like, I don't even use that test. I don't even know why he gave it to you. You're hired. So, which I'm so grateful that I in a sense did connect with my solid sense of self and my true sense of self, because I was valued for who I was, that I was smart, that I was intelligent, that I was a hard worker, that I valued these things, and that I'm consistent and I'm disciplined and that I'm honest and I have integrity. I went down of ways that I was going to be responsible. I value responsibility and all the values that I had in these roles or these jobs or these qualifications that I had. And that is what a solid sense of self is, that you're able to have that boundary or stand up for yourself or make choices and decisions that align with you, with who you are. And so I hope that story kind of gives you a kind of fun example of what a solid sense and a true sense of self could look like. Let's move forward to how we can identify our 5 core values. And so this is to help you for anyone who is struggling to find their values. Again, start with the 8 C's. The 8 C's kind of help clear through the mud of the confusion of what you value. Because when you respond with the 8 C's, it's a lot easier to be like, oh, I value this and I value this. And this is what it can look like. You can ask yourself, what matters most to me? What do I admire in others? And what qualities do I want my children to describe me as, or even my spouse? And the reason that this is important because we really do look at others and we value something in them that we value in ourselves. So, for example, I value honesty, so that when my husband is honest with me, I value that. Or I value when he's courageous because I value courage. So it's kind of like that idea. Again, here are the questions to ask yourself. What values matter most to you? What do I admire in others? And what qualities do I want my children to describe about me? So just pick 5. You can start with 5. If you want to add more, awesome. But for those, this is a challenge. Pick 5 and write them down. Now that you have picked 5 of them, and you're welcome to pause me if you want to use this as your exercise this time right now, you're welcome to pause me, because now I'm going to go into number 2 of helping you develop your solid sense of self. Number 2 is self-reflection. At the end of the day, you can ask yourself, did I act aligned with my values? Is there somewhere where I was not aligned or I drifted away from it? And then without shame, what can I adjust tomorrow? Again, do all this without shame, with a lot of compassion for yourself, and with a lot of courage and confidence in yourself, because guess what? You're doing something very challenging. You're finding who you are, and sometimes you have to break a lot of emotional or mental or thought processing habits that you've been thinking or doing for a very, very long time. Whether that's 50 years of habits or 20 years of habits or 30 years of habits, whatever it is, give yourself grace that you are trying to find who you are and who God sees you truly are. And we have to sometimes go through the mud to figure that out, and that's okay. Like you would with your own child, your toddler, whether they're driving a car, whether they're walking for the first time, learning words, reading, whatever it is, you won't shame them. You are not disappointed in them. They're learning along the way, just like you are. Think of it like your Father in heaven looking down on you, and you're learning and growing, and he has so much compassion and confidence in you that you can do it. And that step by step, you will be able to achieve this, just as you do with your own children. So hopefully with that mental image in your mind as you do this practice, that can help you. And again, here are the questions you can ask yourself at the end of the day. You can choose one of them or all 3 of them. Did I act aligned with my values? Where did I drift? Without shame, what can I adjust tomorrow? And you're welcome again to pause me right here if that will help you with this, because this is a really good exercise and has truly helped me find myself. And the solid sense of self was introduced by my therapist. And as we've been working on it, it's been really amazing to feel more like me, to feel more confident in myself, to be more genuinely happy, and to accept myself a little more, because that can be really hard. All right, number 3. This one's also very important and takes a lot of courage as well and confidence, is setting boundaries. And just, again, boundaries is not about controlling people and their choices, but it's more of aligning yourself with your values, protecting yourself. Boundaries is saying, hey, you're welcome to do whatever you want, whatever choice you want, but you cannot accept the consequences that I choose rather to walk away, choose not to talk to you, choose to not finish this conversation, choose not to connect with you, choose to do my own activity, whatever that is. Again, boundaries are never meant to control people. That's something that a lot of people misunderstand about boundaries. It's more about you're welcome to do whatever you want, but this is what I'm doing to keep myself aligned with my values and to keep myself safe. If you value calmness, for example, you're not going to always say yes. You're going to learn to say no. You're not going to always choose something that's not aligned with your value of calmness or clarity. Like, for example, you may be asked to help with something and you already have a very, very busy schedule with your own family, and you know personally that you don't have that time. It's okay to set that boundary of saying, I appreciate you asking me, but I'm not able to at this time, but in the future, I would love to help again. Or just saying, no, I can't right now, but thank you for asking. So, or even if you value honesty, you have the ability to speak the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, or speak your thoughts or your emotions. That one can be a really hard one because sometimes we choose not to say certain things because people react in a certain way that have hurt us or scared us or intimidated us. But that's also suppressing your solid sense of self and true sense of self, which this one takes a lot of courage, and it's taken me a lot of courage sometimes to say things, even if the person doesn't respond very well to what I have to say, or if I don't agree, or whatever. But being honest, you value being honest with yourself, then be honest with yourself, and speak what you feel or what that truth is, even if it's very uncomfortable or it can be very scary. And of course, do it with safety. Have those kind of boundaries. If you're with someone who can be abusive, physically especially, seek the support you need there, just so you know. But also connect with your solid sense of self and have the courage to not let the abuser continue to suppress your emotions or your thoughts because he or she doesn't agree with it. So just want to give a little thing there. Also, if you value growth, you also may allow discomfort. You're willing to make a boundary that I'm willing to grow and not let myself stay lazy or stay in a place where I'm never going to grow or become challenged or be content. You can even create a boundary for yourself of what you're going to do to take care of yourself or grow yourself, or even for your health. Like you make a boundary that I'm not going to have dessert past 7 o'clock or have any more food past 7 o'clock because I know that's not going to help my body. So rather, setting boundaries with others or with yourself is one of the greatest ways to protect your values as well. And if you need a little bit of time to kind of ponder and think about that, you're welcome to pause me as well and write them down. Again, boundaries is a very important one to do as well. Number 4, keep promises to yourself. It's so important that when you promise yourself something, that's how you build trust within yourself. And you can do that through small ways by following through, honoring your commitments, practicing what you say, and also committing to what matters to you. This is what strengthens your identity of your solid sense of self. And then finally, number 5, practice self-compassion. Your solid sense of self is not supposed to be a rigid, I have to be perfect all the time. This is where you have to learn to be flexible with yourself and have compassion and even confidence that you're going to make mistakes, and along with courage, that you're going to learn and grow in the process, and it's going to be messy, and that is okay. But to give yourself a lot of compassion, that just like a young toddler learning to walk for the first time, just laugh at yourself, honestly. Like, give yourself time to have humor. Humor is a great antidote to shame and the perfectionist idea. Like, don't take yourself so seriously. It's okay to laugh like, oh, that was so dumb, or that was so funny that I can't believe I did that. Like, for example, even this morning, I didn't realize, so I was filling up my water filter this morning, and I didn't realize I left my nozzle open. Fortunately, it's over the sink. So I woke up the next morning about to fill up my water bottle, and guess what? All my filtered water was emptied into the sink. And I think reflected about it in the morning. I usually would probably have cried about it in the past. But instead, I decided to laugh and be like, oh man, I forgot to switch the nozzle. I'll have to remember that next time. I'll just fill it up and just fill up my water bottle with the refrigerator water for right now until I have more water. So I laughed. I brought humor into it. And so I wasn't taking myself seriously. I had a lot of compassion with myself that, I made a really dumb mistake, but that's okay. Just move forward, or even like another one today, actually, I recognized I maybe left a permanent marker somewhere where my daughter could get, and so I was getting myself ready for the day. I walked up the stairs. Next thing you know, my sweet daughter is coloring permanent marker on the wall. I thought it was crayons at first because I have washable crayons, and I come close and I realize it's permanent marker. And in the past, again, I would have made a big deal about this. I would have had this ruin my day. But instead, I just said, oh, were you coloring on the wall? Hey, next time, can we keep it on paper? And let's do crayons instead. And so, of course, thanks to ChatGPT, I learned what to do with that, like how to take care of it, even though it might have taken the paint off the wall. I was able to get most of the permanent marker off the wall and just laugh. I'm like, you know what? I can just repaint this wall. It's not a big deal. It's amazing that the humor or just giving yourself a lot of self-compassion, even your children, like I was really proud of myself at that moment that in the past I probably would have yelled at her and got angry with her and very frustrated and irritated with her. But instead I just laughed with her. I'm like, oh, were you coloring on the wall? Like, hey, in the future, let's not use a marker. Let's use some crayons and keep it on paper. I was telling her what she could do instead of telling her what she couldn't do. And then just like, hey, I'm not mad at you. I just don't like that you like wrote on the wall, but that's okay. I can see that you're having a lot of fun. So it also allows you to give your kids grace as well. And that's one thing I love about a solid sense of self is that it aligns you also to let others make mistakes as well. It's okay. Let yourself feel the emotions, make the mistake, and be still grounded in who you are and have fun with it. So hopefully that brought a little smile to your face too. And just know that just don't take yourself seriously. That is just one of my big piece of advice with self-compassion is don't take yourself seriously. Have some humor, smile, and find a solution. Instead of prevailing on the problem, be like, okay, how can I improve from this? What can I do? Be creative. This is where you can have your creative seed come in. How can I solve this and be creative in this area? I hope that this episode today helped you, that as you learn to find your values, you'll start learning you don't have to be dependent on your emotions. You don't have to be dependent on people's approving you. You don't have to even chase certain trends today that are happening or have to always be busy and productive. That when you have your values become steady, you could become more grounded, you're becoming resilient and consistent with who you are. And all of this creates your identity. Your values create who you truly are. And when you have your identity become more stable, and that stability within yourself creates true, genuine peace and happiness and joy. And I totally testify of it. And again, I'm not perfect at it, but the more I practice this, I've been feeling a lot more, honestly, genuinely happy and less angry, less stressed. Not that I don't feel angry here and there. Not that I don't feel overwhelmed or worried or stressed or have fear. I still have those. But I give myself a lot of compassion and move forward and grow from it. And every time I learn, I have more peace with myself. And it just makes me better. And I love that I'm able to connect with my true sense of self. So again, I really hope this helped you today. Let me go over those real fast, those 5 practices that you can do to develop your solid sense of self. For those who want to go back to it, is identifying your 5 core values, asking what's most important to you and what you do admire in others and qualities you want your children to remember about you. Number 2 is to practice self-reflection. At the end of the day, did you act aligned with your values? Did you drift away from them? And also recognize without shame, where can you adjust for the next day? And number 3, setting boundaries. Again, boundaries help protect your values. They protect you. They're not meant to control people, but help you put you in a place where you stay aligned with who you are. And then number 4 is keeping promises to yourself. Keep your commitments, follow through with them, and practice what you say matters to you. And that can help strengthen your identity with that. And then number 5 is compassion for yourself. And allow yourself to make mistakes, feel the emotions, and move forward with grace as you continue to develop yourself. I promise you that this will bless you and this will help you so much. This will help you react less and respond more with calm and confidence than you ever have before. Again, I just love you all. I again appreciate you all. And if this episode has helped you in any way to discover your true identity of who you are, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, a 5-star review, or even on the comments here. I would love to hear from you personally. Or if you want to email me at jennaazera@buildingyourselfwithgrace.com. I would love to personally hear from you and how this helped you and how you're finding your true and solid sense of self. And if you're needing help with any of this just to get started, I have a grace-filled call that you can do, and it's free for a free first 30 minutes. And if you want to be a part of my program, I would love to help you in that journey of finding who you are and finding the joy in motherhood again. You are amazing. Remember that God intended you not to be someone else, but to be genuinely who He created you to be. And through your true sense of self in episode 21 and your solid sense of self in this episode, and even episode 9 of understanding your roles versus your identity, you can become who you were meant to be. A genuine, divine daughter of God who came here for this purpose with their own personality and values to do what God has intended them to do, whether for themselves, for their family, for their spouse, or for the world, or for the church. God will help you in this. And Jesus Christ is the example and the epitome of a solid sense of self. And He will help you through His grace and His atonement to bless you and give you that peace. Thank you again so much for coming today. And I am so looking forward to next episode. Is my mentor, one of my mentors. Her name is Megan, and she has quite a story to tell you. If any of you are going through a divorce, if any of you have lost a spouse, or any of you have struggled with deep depression that you can't even get out of bed, stay tuned for episode 23 because her episode will enlighten you, will bless you, and help you overcome that and find grace that God can bless you with. So again, thank you for tuning in today, and remember to build yourself with grace. I love you. Take care, and see you on the next episode. Did today's episode encourage you or give you something new to think about? If it did, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and share this with another mama who could use a little grace and encouragement today. I can't do this without you, and I'm so grateful for the chance to walk alongside you in the divine chaos that motherhood brings. I want you to remember this, Mama. God loves you. He sees you, and He is only a prayer away. God bless you, and I'll see you next time on Building Yourself with Grace.